Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be Dodo taking on Muravev Terran V2. Yes, Muravev is a up-and-coming I'll say set of bots, as the bot author has got a few projects on the go, and yeah, they all look very, very interesting and show some promise. And so this time we are checking out the author's Terran bot, which I believe is the highest one they have on the ladder. I did a quick little check at their profile. And yes, so we've got a TVZ. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, if we can hit, I don't know, like 21,420 likes on this video, that would be amazing. And of course, those more bot comments may be goofy, but they do help us with the YouTube algorithm to spread the good word of bots. If you happen to see an interesting bot game and you want it cast here on the channel, maybe you're starting programming a bot or something, feel free to send it in the Interesting Replays channel in the SC2AI Discord. Now, Muravev Terran seems like it's going for an interesting build. I say interesting in that it's got minerals right now, but it's not building any SCVs presently, which seems a little bit bizarre. It went for an SCV scout. Meanwhile, Dodo, we do tend to know how Dodo plays. Dodo is a Zerg bot that's sort of well known for its Nydus mining. Looks like Muravev is struggling here with these mineral patches, and it actually looks like Dodo may be struggling with that as well, as this drone attempts to build a hatchery here. So we've got torches being a villain once again. These mineral walls are something that units, or I guess bots, would traditionally think they can just path to, but that is not the case, so that's quite unfortunate for the authors, but doesn't look like it's causing too many major problems, as Dodo goes ahead and throws up that third hatch in a different spot. Very nice to see. Muravev, however, is still floating quite a bit of money. It builds one Reaper. I'm wondering if this SCV is like stuck trying to path here. Like, was it going to be building an extra racks or something like that? I do not know. But for now, things are looking a little bit worrisome for Muravev, because it is floating a lot of money, and I say a lot. It's got 2 command centers worth of money just kicking around right now, so not the most optimized build, but it does invest in a 3rd base already, so that's at least going to bring that mineral bank down a teeny tiny bit. We do have the Reaper starting to micro here. I do hope I'm not going to jinx it. However, Muravev has got some pretty darn good micro. It's part of the reason why it's difficult to look at the bots matches is that the bot author has submitted some of their bots on both ladders, I believe. So that's a little bit interesting. The Reaper does actually path out of there, so it doesn't fall into the mineral wall trap that a lot of bots do fall into. One of the Reapers actually grabs a drone before it can burrow, which is very nice. Dodo did research burrow, however, clearly that's not necessarily enough to save a drone if the timings are a little bit off. And so one drone goes down. The Reapers are moving back in, going towards this main base. They do find another drone transferring. Can they get it? It looks like the answer is a yes. And then more drones in the main base are in trouble. We see some of them getting pulled to fight, and they can burrow to stay alive, but things aren't working out perfectly, as we've now seen 5 drones go down. This one's just freaking out. That dies as well. So very, very effective Reaper harassment from Muravev. And yeah, that's a bit unfortunate that that went that way for Dodo. Particularly when we do take a look at the Terran's base. It is a 3-basing Terran, now going up to 4 bases thanks to that huge mineral bank. Muravev is really bottlenecked by gas here, and so it's just got minerals for command centers, I guess. One of those Reapers did go down, but they've done more than their share of work for 2 early game Reapers. We've got a Marauder on the way for Muravev behind this. There is very few units for the Terran at this point, but who knows? Maybe Dodo will be nice and not bring down the hammer on the Terran. Reaper does get backed into a corner there and killed. It is cool to see that Muravev is utilizing those Reaper grenades. That is that's something that you definitely have to take probably a decent amount of time to program in as a bot author, unless you're using a framework or something that includes that. We do get Dodo attempting to build a Nydus worm so it can do that famous Nydus mining, but that actually gets blocked by some fat-arsed queens. And then we have no attempt on that Nydus again. Come on, sister, get out of the way. But the queens cannot hear me, for he is a commentator. Okay, so we do have Liberators on the way for Muravev. Double Stargate. Air is a strategy that is traditionally pretty darn good against Dodo, as Dodo just goes for a single composition. It doesn't have counters or anything like that. Now, then we do have a Hydralisk Den here on the way for Dodo, so it's getting glial reconstitution, but things aren't looking terrible. Can we get that Nydus after the third attempt, fourth attempt? No, no, no. So Dodo really is blocking itself from doing its signature move here, which is not ideal. Clearly there's good logic in the sense that the bot author attempts to rebuild it, but they do not attempt to build it elsewhere. I mean, the Nydus does have very strict requirements on where to be placed when you want to do the Nydus mining. It's got to be right next to the hatchery, and it looks like it. Oh wait, no, why? Is it the base placement? Like, is the larva blocking it? Yeah, it must be the larva that's actually blocking that. Oh, that's very unfortunate. So I guess there may be no speed mining this time, unless somehow that can still get down. I'm not sure. I could have sworn I've definitely seen Dodo speed mine on this map before. So maybe the larva just needs to wriggle around a little bit more or something. But who knows whether that will ever actually get up or not. Now, we've got Muravev going for some interesting upgrades, getting +1 attack for the infantry, getting +1 ship weapons, presumably for the Liberators, as both these bots just macro up in a respectful fashion. The gas bank for the Terran is now growing, and we do eventually get the Nydus up, so that's good to see for Dodo. Well done, Dodo. And then we do have that gold base already mining for Dodo, which is very nice here on Torches. Muravev, though, still a 4-basing Terran, dropping those mules, and then just getting up more and more production. So this could be a very interesting fight coming up, because the Terran does have very good micro. And so we could have quite a good battle here if these two can build up a big enough army. Lots of Marauders for Muravev. I do want to say something. The other day I was casting a TVT. It was between WickedBot and GPT, I want to say. And I did say that why you build Marauders, man? Like, they're not very good in TVT. And then the bot author did have a very fair response, which was that Marauders are potentially more useful units for bots, as they do have a higher range. And so while traditionally in human TVTs where you F2 A-move your Marines at each other, the Marauders don't do very well. But if they're controlled independently by a bot, they're a unit with high range, high HP, and then the concussive shell is icing on the cake. So there is a lot of potential for Marauders to be more valuable in TVT than they would be usually. And that's something that I didn't really consider, because I'm an old Starcraft player stuck in my ways. Now we do have Dodo going for an attack, heading towards the 4th base of the Terran. The Terran is going to respond. We do have auto turret usage programmed in there by Muravev, which is nice to see. The bio is now trying to kite against this army, but the army isn't really stepping forward, so they do have to waddle forward to try and handle this. Looks like a bit of economic damage was done, but really nothing too significant. We've got Dodo throwing down the Nydus mining tag, and we do get a scan from Muravev, which is doing a very good job keeping its bio kind of clumped up. It looks like it moves almost as a whole unit. We do get a Corrosive Bile going down on a Widow Mine. The rest of the Widow Mines are now going to fire for the Terran, and so that's going to pack a punch onto the Zerg force, but the Zerg supply is looking pretty terrifying here. We do get a tank sieged up in the back for Muravev. Muravev, meanwhile, has got some production somehow over on this side, which is very interesting. So the Terran loses a base. It still has the worker lead, but it's down a base and is potentially in a lot of trouble here. As Dodo moves on in, it does turn around to go kill that rebuilding refinery, giving the Terran a second to breathe. But Muravev really needs more production. It definitely needs better upgrades here. Currently there is an upgrade lead for the Zerg, which really adds up in these sort of Bio versus Roach Hydra fights. Muravev doing some very interesting stutter stepping here. But the Zerg army is wearing thin, as Dodo doesn't have that many units here. It seems the reinforcements are a little bit late. We do have that famous Nydus mining going down for Dodo, as the Zerg just pops in and out of that Nydus worm and brings in some nice gold minerals with that. Although it stopped all of a sudden. Why'd you stop? I'm actually curious. I'm guessing it's because... No, there wasn't. There's only one Nydus worm. Why did you stop? Okay, it gets back to it. That was a little interesting. Maybe it's because a Liberator was near the actual Nydus network. This Liberator is definitely keeping the army of Dodo back a little bit, which is important for the Terran bot, allowing Muravev to get decently close to maxing out, which is really nice here. More Widow Mines are getting set up, and this is a great defensive position for the Terran. The Zerg is trying to breach this, but this is a really big commitment, and we do have 1-1 done for the Terran, so the upgrades are even. The bio is going to be a lot more tanky. The stutter step is so interesting from the Terran, as some of these Zerg units are going down a scan, also getting dropped to help minimize the effectiveness of that burrow. Medivacs are also healing, working double time. We are about to have +2 attack for Dodo, which will be really nice. Some economic damage has been, well, yeah, definitely has been done here, as Muravev was at 90 SCVs at some point, so it's lost 75 in total, which is an immense amount of workers. My question is, at this point, are we going to get a new base rebuilt by the Terran? Or is Muravev just like build 4 bases and never rebuild them kind of bot? I'm not too sure. Widow Mines are going off there for Muravev. We have the Terran fighting on the high ground. Bio kind of unsupported. The Medivacs fly right over the Hydras, which was not ideal there. And Bio, notably, without stim here. I can't believe it took me 12 minutes to point this out, but no stim from the Terran. That's a challenge the bot author has not taken on yet. We do have Widow Mines getting some really nice connections in the center of the Hydras there. Unfortunately, they do not have drilling claws. Otherwise, they'd be safe to rearm and refire a little bit later, but that is not the case. So Dodo really putting the pressure here on the Terran. Muravev's in some trouble, and Nydus mining still going on. We'll see if we get another Nydus worm later on, but yeah, I think the Terran's production may not be enough here to save it. We had like 1 tank built this game, which is not enough to handle Roach Hydra. You need many more tanks than that. The Widow Mines are good, but without drilling claws, they lose out on a lot of potential efficiency. Muravev's trades haven't been that good. I think the air units have been dying a little bit too much. Not sure the Liberators have accomplished that much either. And Dodo, despite the delayed Nydus mining, it was just able to put together like a cool little push. I think the next... Actually, I guess that wouldn't work. When you're Nydus mining, the Nydus is kind of occupied as there's a maximum throughput, right? So I guess Dodo really cannot use the Nydus for anything else, which would have potentially been cool, but I'm fairly sure the way the programming works is that like there's a maximum output for a Nydus, so you couldn't have Nydus mining going and say be shuttling units towards the front lines. Even if you had 2 Nydus networks, I don't think, although actually, because like you can have multiple Nydus networks, so you can call in multiple Nydus worms. So in theory, could Dodo not just... Because, like, the unload can be done manually. Like, I'm not sure if it's in the API or not, but presumably you can select which unit you want to unload. In fact, I'm 99% sure you can, because I'm sure there's been cases of Medivacs probably doing that and warp prisms. And so in theory, Dodo could be pivoted a little bit more to make more use of Nydus worms. I'd really like to see that. That would be cool. I don't know if it's technically possible or if Nydus mining just kind of occupies the whole thing or not. Bit of a cleanup going on right now as Dodo just sets about killing Muravev. And yeah, it was quite a good game from the Red Zerg, just very stable as always. Muravev showing some promise. I think the build at the start of the game definitely could be a little more optimized. The lack of stim pack is interesting, and then I think just the general composition. Like the Liberators did a good job harassing, but they didn't do that much. And then so maybe tanks are very good in bot games, particularly against a style like this. And yeah, if you want to see more of either of these two bots, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe, click that like button. If you watch these videos on the regular and you want to support the daily cast, consider becoming a YouTube member. You can press that join button down below if you want to see those perks. And then, yes, let's just wait for the cleanup. Poor SCVs. A lot of workers died this game. That could have been part of the downfall of Muravev. I do find it interesting. It was on 90 workers, but only 4 bases. Generally, that's where you want a 5th base, and we didn't really see that attempted. Notably, Dodo's overlords are also not pooping creep, but they are hanging out here. May as well make them poop creep. But, yeah, very, very good showing. We did actually get infestors at the end from Dodo. We didn't get to see them used. And, yeah, just a slow cleanup here. Is there some units still being kept occupied by a Liberator or something? Because, yeah, there definitely is. Because Dodo's army here is rather small. But, again, very good army splitting by Dodo. We've got to wait for these final buildings to be found and killed. GG.